Scammers f***ing suck. Recently, I had an encounter with a scammer pretending they wanted commission work from me. They reached out asking if I do portrait work, and excited, I said yes. I told them my price, told them my whole spiel, and everything seemed to be going great. But one thing I did notice is they kept wanting to pay me now. I assumed they were eager, but I told them I prefer that money be exchanged after a contract is signed, which gets to my first tip. Don't exchange money until a contract's been signed. And you might be wondering, how do I make a contract? What I did to figure out what I needed to go in my contract was through research online, talking to my artist friends, and from my own personal experience. In this case, it was with animation work, but it helped me realize what people outside of the art world don't know and what I need to bake into my contract so I don't get taken advantage of, even unknowingly. And who knows, maybe this con artist was super into the art world and knew all the ins and outs, but I like to assume that my clients don't know what's going on and just include this stuff to help myself out. So, some things I like to include in my contract. 1, lay out exactly what they're going to get for that commission. In this case, it was 3 preparatory sketches, and then they give their approval, 2 revisions in the rough stage and the color stage. And any more revisions would result in a price renegotiation. And that advice was given to me by my awesome former college teacher, Nancy, who had an unofficial Zoom class on being a working artist. Thanks. The work will be given with watermarks until the final payment. The artist retains all copyright to the work and the right of refusal, which still results in me keeping 50% of the payment because I think after all that hard work, I should get something for what I've made. So, I noticed the scammer wanted to speed up the process, asking when I was going to send the contract over, citing personal reasons. Although I didn't know those personal reasons were that they wanted to scam me, wanting to be negotiable, wanting to be good. I told them I could get back to them on Tuesday. They asked for Monday, and I told them I'd do my best, but, I couldn't promise anything. So, I get back to them on Monday, and I'm about to send them the contract, and I asked them, do they want the work to be purely digital, or eventually are they planning to print? This is just so I know if I have to work in CMYK, color spectrum versus RGB. CMYK is for printing, RGB is for just digital. They call me right about when I'm about to answer, they end the call, and they message back purely digital. So I sent them the contract to the email they provide, and they message back. Sorry, I think there's a problem here. Worried, I say, what happened? They say, I do Venmo, but unfortunately I am unable to use it because of a dispute on my account. But nevertheless, I can have you paid by my check, and when you receive the money, you can proceed with it. Is that okay by you? Immediately, the dispute on my account thing is jumping red flags. I'm like, what's going on here? But I don't want to jump to any conclusions. So I start to get my PayPal QR code ready, and I send them the message, do you have PayPal as well? And they say, no, I do not use PayPal. So I start to freak out. I'm getting stressed out about this situation. I prefer not to go through checks. So I start messaging my aunt and she says, why check? Is she old? She don't have PayPal, Zelle, Venmo? I don't like it. But I start talking to my aunt, telling her about the dispute in her account, and she says, okay, just give her the information. People are annoying. So I send her the information and she messages back, all right, thanks. Also, I want you to know that I had to issue an $1,000 check to you, and the reason for this is because of my check limits. But can I trust you to have my remaining balance back when you have the money in your account? I start to freak out. At this point, I know she's trying to scam me. I'm going crazy. I call my aunt, and she confirms to me, yes, she's trying to scam you. Tell her, or tell them that it's not acceptable, that you don't do business in this way, and that this conversation is over. But when their Venmo's up and running, we can do business. And they respond back, what's wrong with it? So let me spell out for people who are new to scamming. They were going to send me an $1,000 check, which is not the amount I asked for, which is much more than I asked for. Honestly, I should up my prices a little bit after this. But yeah, they were going to send this money and trusted that I give them back the money. So some people might wonder, hey, what's wrong with that? As long as they give you the check, it's in your bank account, it clears, it should be all good. And I learned this when talking to my dad after about this. So 1, let's talk about the check limit. The check limit makes no sense, which I already got when I was reading that. I was like, wait, that's kind of weird. Check limit means you can only sign out $1,000 checks, at least $1,000 checks. That's ridiculous. A check limit would be like, you have to pay at least $50 or $100, something like that, write out a check. I wouldn't know, to be honest, because I haven't written out checks, but check limit, I'm not familiar with a specific amount for a check limit, but I know that a check limit doesn't mean that you have to give out $1,000 checks, because it's ridiculous. Okay. And then you're thinking, how are they trying to scam you with this? Well, after I get their check, I give it to the bank. You think, oh, the bank clears it. As long as the bank clears it, you're all good. No. When a bank clears a check, that doesn't mean it actually is clear. It means the bank is pretty sure it's clear. But there's like some fine text or something like that excusing the bank for if it's not actually clear, it's your fault, it's not their fault. My dad actually worked as a bank teller. He didn't learn this then, he learned this afterwards. I don't know if it was through a negative experience, but yeah. Anyway, so it's not actually cleared. How you can figure out if it's actually cleared, if it's you take that check, you deposit it, you wait a month, then you go back to the bank, they usually send you a copy of the check after you deposit, and then you can say, hey, look at this serial number, is it actually cleared, is it actually good? And my dad actually had to do this in the past when this old lady wanted to buy our electric piano, and it was all good, she was legit. But this person clearly wasn't. So this experience has taught me a lot. I'm very glad that I kind of started figuring out what I wanted to go in my contract before someone reached out to me for this commission. Even before this request, I've been thinking about it after my work experience. One thing I would try not to do is to take on that stress. Once I got this client, I wanted to do good work for them. I wanted to give them their work timely. I didn't want them to have a negative experience with me. I really wanted to do well for them, which is why I poured all that energy into this portrait here that you're seeing. Because I really wanted to do a portrait. I haven't done them in a while, and I was excited to push myself. So yeah, but I wouldn't take on that energy. I wouldn't take on that stress. You want to do your best to accommodate your client, but you don't want to rush in and make mistakes. And I'm very happy I talked to my friends and family before making any of these decisions. And if anybody's wondering, I am open for commission still, for animations and for digital art, but I do highly prefer you pay with Venmo, Zelle, or PayPal. And I'm not really into checks for obvious reasons, but if someone insists on paying with a check, then, don't look at that work for a month. Because once you start looking at it, once you start thinking about what they want, you're working even before you start painting. You're imagining compositions, you're thinking, what are you gonna do, what colors, all that stuff. And, do your best not to do that because you're not getting paid for that work. Yeah, so that's what I learned from this whole experience. I'm really happy I actually got to do this portrait. I've been wanting to make a goal for myself to do a portrait of myself each year so I can see how I improve over the years, see how my art has changed. And you know what? I'm glad this experience did waste my time and my stress, but I'm glad I was not tricked by them in the end, and I got a learning experience out of it. So, if you guys like this content, subscribe, watch out for those scammers, and check me out next time. Bye, guys.